the importance and the need of agriculture can never be overemphasized, right? Because without farmers, we all will, well, millions of people will die of hunger, right? So we can see what's happening in the northeast and different parts of northern Nigeria. The prices of certain agricultural commodities have risen in the marketplace because farmers can go to market because of the terrorists, right?
Yes.
And so when any community or society that loses farmers loses, food and stands, the risk, runs the risk of going hungry, right? So agriculture is the best business for anybody to do any day, anytime, because it has some kind of a bumper. How do you call that? It has a bumper, whatever capacity. I'll explain all of that to you, anyways. But can I dive right into
Yes,
it?
go ahead.
So why is agriculture the best business that you can do today? Number one is stability. Agriculture tends to be more stable compared to other investments, right? Food is a human need, so there will always be the demand for agricultural products. Providing food. You just can't go a day without eating at least one meal a day, right?
No matter how bad it is.
No matter how bad it is. So let me do a little bit of a simulation for you. Enugu has not less than 5 million people, right? And so these 5 million people have to eat at least a meal a day, right? So what that means is that if the 5 million people I'm sure Enugu is more than 5 million people. I don't know what the exact figure is. So let me just use 5 million as, as a case
It's just
study.
an example, I understand. Go ahead.
So imagine that, cost of a meal is 600 naira, right? A plate of food, and 5 million people have to eat every day, right? What is that? 600 times 5 million. Just stay with me. My calculator can't even calculate it. It runs in the billions, right? The point I'm trying to make is this: if you're a food provider, if you're agricultural product provider, you can never go hungry. You can never be poor, right? So it brings stability to the owner of a business or to people who offtake from the farmer. When you talk about agriculture, there are 3 branches of agriculture. You have food production, which could be crop farming. Then you have livestock, which has to do with animal and fishery, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have food processing. That's a third part. That processing is the third part, and then you have the in the first part is production, which is either food production or livestock. Then the second part is processing. The third part is the business part of agriculture, distribution and export, right? So if you key into the value chain of agriculture, you will never go wrong. So the second reason you need to invest in agriculture is long-term growth, right? You do not lose money. If you know what you're doing in agriculture, you can't lose money, right? We've been talking about the Young Millionaire program, and we said that if you have a consultant whose duty it is to do this kinds of setups, do it for you, you can't go wrong. The only way you can go wrong in agriculture is if you're just beating about the bush and learning while you go, and that's really risky. But if you get a farmer, an agricultural engineer, a farming consultant to help you, you can't go wrong, and all that you can make is profit, no losses, right? Then diversification. It's a sure way to diversify both local economy, national economy, regional economy, and the family economy, right? So that is to say that you, Chiamaka, right now as a broadcaster, can own a farm.
Yeah, I'm actually a farmer.
At the back of your, oh great.
Yes, I'm
right?
a farmer.
So you can own, or you already own farms. So that is to say that no matter what work you do, be it broadcaster, a civil servant, look at many generals in the army, look at Obasanjo, look at Buhari, look at so many of them own farms, right? And so over the weekends when they're not doing anything, they visit their farms and they go see, oversight whatever is going on there. So it's a way to diversify any economy, whether it's personal, family, or national economies, right? So with agriculture, you can't go wrong. It gives you a tangible asset. Now, if you're a farmer and you have a farm, right, a large farm, say you have a livestock farm, right, and that livestock farm is productive and profitable, you can go to the bank and take a loan, take some money for another business or to upscale your business using, the infrastructure you have on ground, be it machinery, be it the farmland, be it the livestock, the animals, and all of that. So it's a form of tangible asset. Then the beautiful one, the most beautiful one that I love so much is that it's a hedge against inflation. Inflation is about 28%, if it's not up to 30% by today, right? And so what this means is that the price of everything in the market is going up. And you must understand why Nigeria is suffering inflation. Nigeria is not producing enough. We're a consumerist nation. We're not manufacturing enough. So a lot of what we consume comes from overseas. And so that dependence on imported goods is draining our economy. Now, exporters, all the exporters in Nigeria makes about $46 billion annually. That includes the oil and gas sector, agro-allied, merchant export, and all the export activities in Nigeria gives us about a meager 46 billion. It's not even a lot of money, because if you look at California, the Californian economy is over 1 trillion, right? And California is a state in America. Mm-hmm. I told you the other time that Apple is 1.7 trillion, dollars in assets, and so that is to say that Apple is bigger. Apple's GDP is bigger than Nigeria as a country, right? So it's not even like it's something we should be excited about. But all the export activities going on in Nigeria gives us about 46 billion naira. And then out of that 46 billion naira, we take a good chunk of it and give it to people who do importation businesses. And so they take the money that should have been working within the Nigerian economy and ship it out in the name of, purchasing goods that Nigerians consume. And so when you take all that hard currency out of the economy, and naira loses value, and then that leads to inflation. So this is part of why Nigeria has high inflation. But agriculture is a great buffer against inflation, because what happens, no matter how expensive things are in the marketplace, you still will sell. No matter how expensive things are in the marketplace, people will still buy Gary. Sell a pinta of Gary for 2,000 naira today. Every Nigerian family will still buy it because they need that for lunch, right? So that means the farmer or somebody who operates in the agro-product processing sector can never go poor, can never go hungry. You will always make money. So that is to say that as things are going expensive, the prices of food commodities are going up, and you're selling, you're making profit, and you can afford to put money in other needs that you have. Other things that are going expensive in the market, you can still afford to buy them, because whatever it is, you're getting that money from the customers. So it's a great buffer against inflation. So these are 5 of the basic reasons why agriculture is a great place to invest. Now, the other thing about agriculture in Nigeria is that the federal government of Nigeria, when you register your agriculture business or agricultural business, gives you a 6 years tax holiday. That is to say, that is to say that in the first 4 years of your operations, you won't pay taxes to the government. Now, yes, so look at Enugu State right now. It's saying Enugu State government said something scary that I saw last week. That you see the budget that they read and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Their hopes of fulfilling that budget, or finding the funds to fulfill that budget is through IGR. So that means they're going to be putting a lot of burden, especially this 2024, on Enugu State citizens. A lot of businesses. You're going to be paying taxes. You're going to be paying levies. You're going to be paying house. How do you call them? I think they call it internally generated revenue. I've forgotten what they call it, but the levy that's being placed on houses now, right? It has always been there, but none of these governments took it serious. But this government is taking all of those seriously, because how they hope to get money to fulfill the budget is through the citizens. And that means that citizens are going to be going through a lot of stress this year. But imagine that if you are operating as an agricultural businessman, we call them agripreneurs, and remember, as an agripreneur, you can either operate in food processing or food production or food processing. Government is not going to take any taxes from you, so you're keeping your money. All that you make through agriculture, the next 4 years you're going to make. Then after the first 4 years, there's an allowance to extend it an extra 2 years. So altogether, it's 6 years tax holiday for farmers. So what are you waiting for? Agriculture is the way to go. So if you start a farm today, if you register an agricultural business today, and start with...
Where's the registration done?
No, CSC.
CSC.
So a lot of people don't register. A lot of farmers don't register their businesses, so they just operate farms and all of that. And still they don't pay taxes. Nobody bothers them about that. They can comfortably run their farms and make profit. But if you want to make it formal, so that you can get all the benefits that accrue, you register it with CSC. Register if, say, Chiamaka Farms. You register it with CSC as a limited liability company, right? Then you go and open a bank account with that name. Right? And then everything sale you make, you put it into that account. So that's to say that if you have need for funding in the future from the bank, or there is a federal government intervention for farmers, then you're qualified to get. If you're not registered, you can get federal government intervention. So from time to time, the central bank and Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, release funds to support farmers. So if you're not registered and your farm is not formalized, you can get access to this. So that's why it's important you have to register, right? So that's a thing. So Enugu State IGR office, Enugu State internally generated revenue office will keep going around taking taxes from different businesses, but they don't touch farmers, right? For two reasons. One is that because of that tax holiday, but two, we need farmers for our societies to survive. And so if you put undue burden on farmers, it makes the business not lucrative. And so a lot of people will go out, will move away from farming, and that means hunger. Will kill the people.
Okay, when we talk about farming and agriculture, people always think that, it's something that must be done on a large scale.
Okay.
Yeah, that part of it being a dirty job is also there.
Yeah.
It's also there, but I think we've gotten over that. Not fully, but
not fully, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people
almost,
are getting the message.
Yes, that, it's not about the dirty part of it. You can make it neat for yourself.
Yeah. Why is that? Sorry, don't forget your thought on something you want to talk about. But I want to quickly say the reason agriculture is dirty is that the farmers we knew years ago were subsistence farmers, right? So they farmed with their hoes and they wore dirty torn clothes to the farm, right? And so that kind of imprinted an idea of agriculture being a dirty business in the minds of the people. But really, there are people who own big farms, mechanized farming. They use drones these days. They use drones to farm. They use GPS to farm. They use drones to even apply insecticides to the different farms, right? There are robots actually that are farming robots. When it comes to harvest, there's something we call the combine harvest, right? These are machines that actually do large scale harvesting, and you wouldn't even, if you wear a white shirt, you'll come out of there still white, right? So technology in agriculture has made it very, very interesting, and you don't have to look at it as a dirty man or poor man's job. It's a millionaire business actually. So
let me get back to what I was saying. So the only thing that comes to mind is farming. I need to have up to a plot of land or 2 plots of land. They only think about the large scale farming, and then we have other concerns like insecurity. It's also a major concern as long as agriculture is involved. So how can people navigate these factors and orders that could
That's a great question, Chiamaka, because there are modern trends in agriculture that are so amazing. When you were saying that, I got so excited. Have you ever heard about hydroponics in agriculture? Hydroponics is the farming with water. The first time I saw hydroponics, it was overseas, but it's come to Nigeria. A lot of people are doing it. So you can farm vegetables in water and nothing touch. You don't plant anything in the ground. You don't till the ground. You don't touch the ground. You set up a water system. You use plastics and tubes to set up a water system, and you can do this in acres, not just small scale. You can do this in acres and farm vegetables. A lot of the vegetables that you see in these big superstores are farmed hydroponically, right?
And it's still natural.
Yes, it's natural. It's just treated water, right? And so you set up a water system that runs through these pipes and these receptacles, and then you put your vegetables in there and different other, there are different other, plants that can grow there, and they grow simply on water. And you see these plants, they look healthy, they look delicious. They're just every bit like the natural, like the regular, it's organic. Right? So hydroponics is one of it, right? Then the other way is that you can farm in buckets, right? You in your farm right now, you live upstairs. In your balcony, you can set up a system of plastic buckets and plant your vegetables there, right? So you don't have to buy ugu in the market. You don't have to buy green in the market. You don't have to buy okazi, all those vegetables, right? Pepper. You don't have to buy all of that in the market. You can grow this all year round just in your small balcony. You live on the first floor. You can do that. People overseas do this, right? Because agricultural stuff, produce are expensive overseas. Nigerian, how do you call it? Cooking stuff, are expensive overseas. So what are Nigerians doing? They buy the ones they can farm, and stuff like vegetable, they farm them in their homes, right? Ugu, green, nubu, and all of that stuff.
And they're also exportable, all agricultural products.
Produce are export. Well, there are few ones that the federal government doesn't allow, for people to export, like corn, right? Because we need corn. Our industries need corn, so you can't export
You can
corn.
export corn.
Yes, there are a few other ones where that the European Union, for example, has a ban on, but that doesn't mean that if we can't export to the European Union, we can't export to other countries. So basically, there are different ways you can go into agriculture, and you won't even see dirt for a second. I mean, that is to say, you don't get dirty, right? Now, the other one is the yam and sack system, right?
Yeah, the
that
yam and sack program.
That's right. You can farm yam in sacks. We've been talking about this for weeks. You can farm yam in sacks. It's not dirty. Imagine you're doing this in one plot of land that has a gate, fenced and has a gate, and then you start your farm there. And every time you go to the farm, there isn't much to do because these yams are growing in sacks. So if you actually have to weed, it's really minimal, right? And so you go there, you watch your stuff growing. After watching your stuff, you drink some water and feel good about yourself. You watch your yam grow, right? If there's something to weed, like I said, you just pull out a few weeds here and there, and then you come out from there, lock your gate and walk away. Your neighbors don't know what you do there unless they go snooping, right? But they don't know what you're doing. They'll have the biggest shock of their lives when they come 7 months later and see you carrying out tubers of yam from this one plot of land, thousands of tubers of yam, right? So agriculture has gotten really, really interesting. And I encourage you to go into agriculture today. Listen, there's hardly any business that can give you the kind of profit that agriculture can give you, because every other business is suffering right now. Every other business, whether it's an importation business or a local manufacturing, they still somehow are connected to the need for the dollar, and so that makes their business operations very, very complicated. But with agriculture, everything is sourced locally and produced locally, so you don't have anything to do with the dollar. Well, if you need fertilizer, then I can understand, but fertilizer is still manufactured in Nigeria. Well, a good chunk of it is imported anyways, but you can use organic fertilizer as well. That means that you can take animal dung, set up a number of drums, put animal dung in there, put water in it, and allow it a couple of weeks to ferment, right? After fermentation, you drain the water and use that water to water your plants, right? And that's a natural fertilizer that lets your plants grow amazingly, well. And so with agriculture, you can't really, really go wrong. So I encourage you, if you're listening to me today, try agriculture. If you're a graduate and you've been looking for a job and you don't have a job, now find at least 10 people, right? Set up a cooperative with them, then approach the central bank, ask them for an agricultural loan. These things are possible. It's easier done when you are a group than an individual, right? So find 10 or 20 people that want to do the same thing, that want to farm just like you. Set up a cooperative, approach the central bank, tell them you need an agricultural loan. There are loans available that are granted farmers, right? And so that's one way to find your capital. Some of you have money sitting in your bank account right now. Maybe you sold a property or money you earn, and you've been wondering what you're going to do with that money. Put it in agriculture. Put it in the Yam Millionaire program, for example, right? What you simply need is a group of 15 people to make up a group H plan, and that way you can have the 6.7 million required to set up 6 plots of yam farm. And this is yam in sack. You're not lifting a finger. Our yam in sack consultant will do all the work that needs to be done, do all the planting, and 7 months later you will have 12,000 tubers of yam, right? 12,000 tubers of yam, which if sold at the rate of 1,500, you'll be making 18 million naira. And then that profit, that income will be shared amongst 15 people that contributed in that group H plan. Now, an individual can take up this investment at the rate of 6.7 million as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the harvest season, which is about 7 months, you'll stand a chance to make 18 million naira as an individual. Now, what's your profits? Take out the 6.7 initial investment from the total income of 18 million naira, and your profit becomes 11,300,000, right? In 7 months. Imagine you do that in 2 times in a year. That gives you about 24 million basically in 1 year. Tell me what business will give you that kind of peace of mind, that kind of rest, and that kind of sure return on investment in Nigeria currently today. I can't think of any. Yeah, there are a lot of profitable businesses in Nigeria, but this one is peace of mind. Somebody is doing all the work for you, and all you've provided is the funds. And at the end of the day, you're walking away with, millions of naira. So I encourage a lot of you listening. We decided to talk about this today, revisit this, and actually explain it, because a lot of you have been calling and asking questions. So I can see the interest, right? But people are scared. I need to let you know that this is not like a Ponzi scheme. This is a straightforward agriculture, right? And I will be oversighting the YAM and SAC consultant, right? So to ensure that everything goes right. So you don't need to be afraid, right? If you can afford the individual 6.7 million required for, the 6 plots of land and 12,000 tubers, you can join the group H plan, and that's just 500,000 a person, and 15 people make up each group, right? And so y'all will contribute 500,000, and the farm will be set up and managed till 7 months when it's time to harvest it, and y'all will reap the profits, the benefits, and walk away with your income. Now, the interesting thing is that you can buy into different groups, right? Do we have time, Chimaka?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so you can buy into different groups. That's to say that every group that opens up, you buy into it with 500,000. So if we open up 10 groups in a month, what that simply means is that you buy into 10 different groups with 500,000, and that's 5 million naira, right? So what happens is that at the end of 7 months, because these investments will run concurrently or just a few months apart from each other. So that is to say, after the first 7 months, the first farm may be harvested, and then, on the 8th month, the second farm will be harvested. But what you're sure is that in 1 year, you'll be making 1.2 million times the number of groups that you've invested in. So if you've invested in 10 groups, that simply means that you'll be making 1.2 million times 10 groups, and that's a cool 12 million naira in 7 months. In 7 months, right? So I encourage you to get right into it. And this is free income, that no tax on this income. This is untaxable income.
Yes.
The federal government is not taking anything from that. The state government is not taking anything from that, because agriculture is exempt of taxes. So I encourage you to do this, and that's it basically.